Hey, hey. Tobago updates.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. The cry for employment was sounded loudly at last night's Executive Council District Town meeting in Roxborough. More than 200 residents attended, with many airing their concerns to the Chief Secretary and his team. Many of them also called for jobs to be offered to young people and other residents. They also expressed dissatisfaction with the unkept promises made by Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and others on the campaign trail. Additionally, they called on Augustine to mend the broken relationship between him and Area Representative Watson Duke, who was in attendance at the meeting. Duke did not speak but listened to the concerns expressed during the meeting, which lasted over 4 hours. Meanwhile, political leader of the Tobago Council of the PNM, Ansel Dennis, called on Chief Secretary Fali Augustine to revoke the appointment of Trevor James as Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development. At a press conference yesterday, Dennis presented documents indicated questionable procurement arrangements made to facilitate a contractor to construct the Scarborough Bypass Road in October 2022. Dennis also alleged that the same contractor was employed to conduct work on a house in Signal Hill belonging to a member of the Executive Council. And nationally, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar stated that she wrote to Chief Justice Ivor Archie to investigate whether the Office of the Attorney General acted unethically in the state's defense against 9 men acquitted for the Vindra Naipaul Coolman kidnapping and murder case. On Wednesday, the men were awarded $20 million in damages after the state failed to present evidence of their defense. Attorney General Reginald Moore explained the files were missing since 2020. However, an ongoing investigation led by former Justice Stanley John located the files on Monday night. Persad-Bissessar raised concerns about how previous submissions were made to the court if the files were missing for several years. She called on the Chief Justice to intervene. And that was the news in 90 seconds. Well, viewers, we have a lot happening in our space, but we want to take a look this morning, spend some time and seeing what's going on with one of our sort of unemployment relief programs, the URP program in Tobago. Now, I mean, this is one of those things that is constantly surrounded with a bit of controversy, but we also see a lot of good coming out of it. There's a lot of good projects, and we're seeing it developed in a way that we have not seen before. So to give us an idea or to get more into it and so to give us as a public could have a better picture of what the vision is for URP in Tobago, we have on set with us none other than Mr. Nyron Leung, Program Coordinator for the Unemployment Relief Program. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Candice. I'm good. Nice to be here. Good morning, Tobago.
Great. So first of all, give me an idea of, how many people are part of the URP program at this point in time?
Well, the URP program, it's a fairly huge, one of the more, I would say, larger units within the THA, right? It is constructed of 6 units, and it falls directly under the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, right? The units that makes up the URP are the construction unit, the environmental unit, the Women for Women program, which they would provide janitorial support to over 35 schools in Tobago and other THA offices, right? Also, we have what we call the Revenues Department, consisting of the Furniture Workshop, the Concrete Workshop, and the Agricultural Unit. Now, those units that comprises the Revenue Unit, those are revenue generating, as we would say, right? Mm-hmm. In the last World Food Day, we would have, a 2-day period, we would have generated in sales over $200,000, $218,000 to be actual, and it was record breaking.
Great. Now, I mean, as you mentioned, there's been so much happening. I guess you could say it's diversifying in terms of developing the skills of the people that are involved. Like we've seen people making coffins, people making furniture. We're seeing the outreach out in East Tobago, where some of the women are there, planting food that can be used in the school feeding program and so on. What is the vision right now for URP?
Well, the vision 2023 and going forward, right? Under the construction sector, the construction section within the URP, right? We are presently partnering with the Buku Moravian Church, right? They have meted out to the division for assistance in constructing a home for a physically incapacitated couple, right? Both cannot work and they are members of the church, and they have formed themselves into a organization whereby they would seek to bring some kind of relief to this couple, right? We've marked this as our flagship project because we think that the passion and dedication that this organization has put into it, we can match it, right? They would be providing the material. Now, we oftentimes limited by resources, right? And to provide the material, where we provide the labor, that is a great incentive for us.
So in other words, the URP program would also be focused on assisting people that are in need of homes.
Yes, we presently have several ongoing projects we call self-help, whereby based on the priority matrix and request for assistance, we try to assist the most vulnerable in the communities, socially and economically challenged persons. We try to assist them as best as possible. That's where we start. And we have self-help projects going on. And in some cases, we are actually doing some social intervention where we provide both labor and material, but we are limited by resources.
Now, earlier you mentioned that on World Food Day, URP generated just over 200 and something $1,000. Am I correct?
That's right, in sales.
Right. Now, what is happening with that money? Is that money going back into the program, or is that moving to the consolidated fund for THA?
Right. So that goes back into the fund for THA. I think is 102 THA deposit account. Right. So in an attempt to offset costs, because the URP, is a very costly operation,
Yes.
right? So we see a way to assist the THA in revenue collection here.
Why not keep that money just for the URP program to make it self-sustainable?
Well, to be honest, right, the URP program is, there's a subvention that comes from Trinidad, about 18 million for the fiscal,
Yes.
right? That within the first 2 to 3 months, that money is used up in salaries, right? The THA now intervenes and they provide funding for the rest of the financial year.
And just to be clear, the actual funding that's needed is a total of $80 million thereabouts, right?
No, the 18, the central government will provide 18.
But what is needed?
Just about, for salaries only, about 70 million.
About 70 million. Okay.
Yeah, so we're seeing a vast difference there, right?
Yes.
So we use every opportunity that we have to generate funds through the revenue unit also to sustain the program. We're trying to make the program as sustainable as possible. Another project that we have in train, which only came on board sometime last week, and it's anticipated that within the next 2 weeks, it will be kicked off, is a pit latrine eradication program. The Division of Health, Wellness, and
Social protection.
They are aggressively embarking on a campaign to eradicate, as we call it, latrine,
outdoor toilets.
outdoor toilets, right? We will kick off with the first 6. Material is already provided. I understand that the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force is also in on this project to totally eradicate outdoor toilets in Tobago.
Okay. Now, I also know that, of course, URP has been doing a lot in the field of agriculture. Where do you see, how do you see URP supporting our food security drive here in Tobago? You know, how are we going to develop that more?
Okay, so presently we are in the process of, we have our main agricultural site is located in Roxborough, right? We have a nursery at Roxborough, and it's in the process of being revamped, whereby the nursery will now provide seedlings for farmers, right, throughout Tobago, and also supply itself. Now we have acres of lands up there. We have had a water detention pond installed, well built. It holds a couple thousands of gallons of water. So this was a project undertaken by the unit in collaboration with Purdue University on effective rainwater harvesting. So we know we have 2 seasons here, the wet season and the dry season. Now in the dry season, we have a detention pond where we can irrigate the plants at that site. Additionally, we are also looking at rolling out some agricultural projects in the various districts, right? And in doing so, this should be able to sustain itself and the workers that come on, right? So in the coming months or so, you will hear about that particular project, whereby we will bring on folks from within the district itself, the various districts, to do farming extensively. Anywhere we can find arable farming lands, we welcome it.
So, I mean, the people that are employed with URP, are they able to gain extra money for themselves from what they grow, or is that all pooled together for the URP program and off to the consolidated fund?
Yes, all are pooled and off to the consolidated fund to help with expenses that the program will incur.
Certainly. And then when it comes to innovation, because I mean, of course, part of the URP program is to push those people who are not so fortunate in terms of being able to have regular employment, and to encourage them, build them up so that, you know, they can eventually be graduated out of URP and get into the wider society and be able to sustain themselves. Are we including innovation in terms of our training for our workers?
Yes, well, definitely, right. We've now implemented a project performance target, which identify based on the projects also, right? So while these projects are, how we should say, while these projects are ongoing, training is also ongoing on these projects. For example, in the construction area, in agricultural area, and basically training is ongoing, right? And we have training and facilitation officers who monitor and recommend the necessary further training if needed, right? The division has indicated, however, that those who now are in the system, we are now looking to tune them out to other divisions, right? And then we will bring in new workers under the new participants, under the unit.
Now, URP is a temporary relief program, work relief program. Is there a time limit as to how long you want to keep workers involved in the program before you send them out into society?
Well, Candice, this was the original intent, to make it a work relief program.
Yes.
Now, the program for the past how many years? We have workers in there 20 odd years as participants, right? Now, I would say it has probably kind of morphed, right? And I mean, just recently we would have increased salaries and added some benefits. I mean, it's only ethical, it's only fair. You've employed in a place for 20 years without no benefits, holidays, sick leave. And, you know, we, in terms of where it has been, we are now trying to turn the wheel around and to make it the program that it was designed to be.
So we're going to see it. I mean, a lot of these people, they're going to be graduated soon.
Well, graduating, well, we would say we would probably graduate, yes, out of the URP, and discussion is being had as to identify spaces in other divisions for them to now come in as skilled workers.
Okay, great. Now, in terms of, you touched on it a little bit, the salary increases. Now, every now and again, we still hear that people are awaiting their monies for the salary increases that were promised in the middle of last year. What's the update on that? What can you share with us as to what's going on?
Well, the salary increase was supposed to take effect on that was July 14 of 2022. However, about 3 fortnights later, that is when it did take effect. So we see the lowest range or the unskilled worker moving from $79 a day to $149. That's the lowest worker within the URP, right? What is outstanding is 3 fortnights, right? All the necessary document paperwork has been made up to have this arrears paid. However, it's before the auditors presently being audited because it's the last fiscal,
Yes.
and it has to go before the auditors, right? We just have to hope that probably the folks responsible, probably, you know, other auditor or two, to fasten to speed up the process.
So if I understand you clearly, workers are receiving their increases.
Yes.
However, they are still owed their arrears.
Yes, just 3 fortnights. Yes, they have received their increases, and you know, I've heard it being bantered about that so long that they promise an increase in salary for the URP workers, and they haven't. They had months now. That's a month and a half after it was promised, right? So all that is being owed is 3 fortnights
Okay.
in arrears.
Now, last night in Roxborough, we also heard from one of the residents up there about a shortage of workers in the gangs up in communities on the east side. What can you tell us as to what's going on there, and why was that complaint made?
I'm not too sure if he's speaking particularly to the URP. So now
Okay.
the URP carries out functions of sanitation work, road cleaning, and so forth, just as the division will do, right? But I can tell you the URP has a complement of just about 1,450 daily paid workers presently. We are more or less filled, right? And as I mentioned before, the budget that we have to work with. So we have to be innovative constantly to ensure that the sustainability of the URP is sustained.
Now, is there any intentions to, let's say, establish a URP store where we could go in and purchase some of the furniture and all the other things that are being made? There are some workers I know doing some good work with concrete and that sort of thing. You know, is that in the works?
Well, actually, as you mentioned that, we are presently putting together a catalog, right? Firstly, the furniture workshop right now, I think the demand is just meeting where the supply is the demand is overwhelming,
Yes.
right?
Because
And
we've seen some quite beautiful pieces come out of the units.
yes, definitely. And right now we are just completing an order for the Division of Education where we would have done the school furniture,
Yes.
right? The school furniture, based on the quality that is produced and the longevity of the product that comes out of the unit, I think it will be a repeat, how to put it, a repeat order whenever the division probably needs furniture.
Okay, great. And then what about in terms of the spirit of the workers? Is there any difference now or a year later as to when you first took up the role?
Or definitely, right? You know, when I've just taken up the role, the question was, you know, we've been at this salary rate for umpteen years. And, you know, administration come, administration go, and the promise is that, yeah, we will give you all an increase or whatever. I am delighted that this increase has happened, and we are seeing a more, how to put it, the morale of workers, it's now boosted, and we're getting even higher outputs from them, right? I mean, there are some workers still a bit delinquent, but we're working with them to change this.
And any challenges at the moment that the program is facing other than that of financial?
Well, you know what's a pet peeve for me is workers, people, participants coming on board, right? You may come on as a laborer, and they're just probably contented to stay at that position when they're in the environment to learn, and they're just contented at that. That for me is one of the areas I think that we have to do some motivation and encouragement in that light.
All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up this interview this morning, Mr. Leung. But before we leave, want to give you a moment to address the public and just sort of, leave something with them in terms of what we can expect to see for 2023.
Okay. Thank you, Candice. Well, the URP continues to be useful, relevant, and productive as the tagline goes with us in there. Based on our projections for 2023, we expect to continue along the lines of assisting homeowners who are socially and economically challenged. We continue to maintain the various parks, streets, beaches throughout Tobago, and continue to just be there for Tobago, right?
All right, short and sweet.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Leung. It was a pleasure hearing from you. And we're looking forward to see what other new innovations come out of URP as you seek to, strengthen the structure of it and make it a worthwhile program.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Okay, great. All right, viewers, we have a lot more coming up for you after the break, so please don't go anywhere.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.